Did Harry really call his father or not? Why so many games when it comes to a simple phone call?
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the King YouTube channel.
My gosh, 5 years ago, I don't think I ever could have predicted that a simple phone call, supposedly made by a son to his father on his birthday, would make so many news headlines, but here we are. As we previously reported, King Charles celebrated his 75th birthday on Tuesday. He spent most of the day launching a whole new project to help people who are facing food insecurity. After that, he hosted NHS health professionals at Buckingham Palace because the NHS is also turning 75 this year. And then he finally got to really let loose and enjoyed a nice dinner with friends and family at Clarence House. Overshadowing all of that, though, was this phone call that supposedly was made by Prince Harry to King Charles, and allegedly even the Invisible Kids got in on it and videoed themselves singing happy birthday. But now we've also got some news that the phone call may not have happened at all, so let's see what this is all about. Okay, so here's what we know so far. Yesterday, all the British media outlets and international media outlets too for that matter were reporting that Harry had made this phone call to his father. But then on Wednesday at around 4:30 p.m., The Express published an article with the headline, "Did Prince Harry speak to King Charles to wish him a happy 75th birthday yesterday?" Exclusive, Prince Harry may not have spoken to his father King Charles to wish him a happy 75th birthday yesterday, despite the Duke briefing that he had planned to make the transatlantic call. The Express is claiming that maybe Harry really did intend to call, but King Charles's busy schedule got in the way. Quote, a well-placed source reveals that the story that Harry was going to make the call to the palace originally came from people linked to the Sussex camp in an attempt to mop up the fallout from not being invited to the King's 75th birthday celebrations. End quote. Okay, well, on the one hand, it was pretty clear that most of those articles about Harry making this phone call did come from their team. When they included that part about the invisible children making a video of themselves singing happy birthday, that right there was when I knew. This is coming from Meghan and Harry's people. So can we trust that it's true? Well, as usual, no. Of course, the palace did not confirm or deny, so that meant that we had no real way to know whether or not the information was accurate. A source has spoken with the Express saying news of a phone call came as a surprise. Let's just say that. There might have been a willingness there for the Sussexes to call the king on his birthday, but it certainly wasn't communicated to the other side in a timely fashion. And sources claim there was no possible moment for this alleged phone call to occur. The source went on to say the king certainly didn't take the call during the day while he was busy working. The evening was spent with his family and friends, and he didn't have a private moment all evening. Separate sources went further and said the king knew that Harry was calling, but supposedly he refused to pick up the phone. The source said there was no call. Every time Harry calls his father, Charles waves the phone away. He does not want to hear from him until he apologizes. For starters, King Charles does not strike me as the type of person who's going to leave the people he's with in order to accept a phone call. I think he would consider that rude because, well, it is rude. So honestly, I believe that he probably just didn't have time all day. Now, if Harry had scheduled the phone call in advance, I'm sure that he would have made the time. But as we have already seen with Harry, he's not going to do that. Just like the last time when he came to the UK, he didn't stay in any royal properties because he neglected to let them know his plans in advance. See, Harry believes that giving advance notice is beneath him. He's a prince. He should just be able to have access to his father whenever he wants, but that's not the way it's going to be. Alright, so also in this Express article, they note Buckingham Palace declined to comment at first, but later suggested a call did in fact take place, and another phone call is scheduled for next week. I think this is a very important point that we need to focus on. If Buckingham Palace is claiming that another call is scheduled for next week, then it probably is true that Harry made some phone call to his father. Now, how long the phone call lasted, what was discussed, we don't know. But let's see what the Telegraph has to say, because now they've put out a new article too. A few hours after this Express article came out, we see an article in the Telegraph with the headline, "Charles and Harry are talking, but is a reunion a bridge too far?" Now, this article was written by Gordon Rayner, who I absolutely trust when it comes to royal news. He knows his stuff. Usually, whatever he reports, we can take at face value. He's not one to report news that he doesn't know is true. According to Gordon, it seems like it's good news the fact that Harry made this call, but there could be more to the story. Quote, a rapprochement between the two would signal the end of years of hostilities and put a stop to the damaging accusations that have poured forth from Montecito ever since Megxit in 2020. Except that after years of briefing wars between the Sussexes and the Windsors, no one who has paid even passing attention to the royal soap opera could view the latest news without at least a modicum of suspicion. I like this point that Gordon is making here. I mean, that was our reaction too. And when you think about it, what a sad state of affairs when a simple phone call is viewed with such skepticism. But at this point, after all the deceit, after all the games that Harry and Meghan play with the media, that is the reaction any sensible person would have. Because of everything we have seen from Harry and Meghan over the past few years, the first question we're going to ask is, what was the motive behind that phone call? And did it really happen, or is this more spin coming from Sussex? As Gordon writes, is it just more spin designed to put Harry on the moral high ground in the ongoing battle for public sympathy? He also writes, the fact that the palace does not deny there was a call means we can safely assume that there was indeed a conversation between Harry and his father on Tuesday. That in itself is significant, because the two have barely spoken since Queen Elizabeth's funeral, and there was no contact at all when the Duke of Sussex celebrated his 39th birthday in September. The next point that Gordon brings up is a really good one. He says, who instigated the call? Why? And why did they want the public to know about it? End quote. As we've discussed previously, with Meghan and Harry, appearance is everything. They are so concerned about how they look in the media. They're so concerned about image and brand. We can be sure the news about this phone call did not come from the palace. This is not the type of thing that the palace would leak. The palace tries to keep personal family members under wraps, as it should. But Harry and Meghan are famous for leaking a lot of private information. So we know this came from their team, and the question is why? Why were they so determined to have every media outlet report on this story? And according to Gordon Rayner, it might have something to do with money. He says the Sussexes are a commercial enterprise needing to generate vast sums to pay for their lifestyle in the U.S., not least their privately funded security bill. Without their royal connection, the Sussexes are just another celebrity couple, and in the U.S., the media has already given them that status, rather than having the sheen of monarchy. If they remain frozen out and nothing changes, they will quickly run out of things to say. And this is exactly what it's all about. Harry and Meghan are desperate to maintain that royal connection. Otherwise, they have nothing left to sell. Now, even so, they probably have nothing left to sell, but this is their only chance. And they're running out of money quickly as companies are dropping them. Spotify already has, Netflix is going to follow suit. There are no new offers coming in. So at this point, they got to do whatever they can to stay relevant. And reportedly, even though King Charles was happy to hear from Harry on his birthday, he was also a bit upset because this news overshadowed the media coverage of the launch of the King's Coronation Food Project. That is what he wanted the focus of that day to be on, but unfortunately, it was this story about the phone call that grabbed all the headlines. As Gordon reports, the king always finds it exasperating when the media focuses on what he would see as trivia rather than the important work that he does. And there is a multiplier effect when the distraction involves Harry, doubly so in a week when the king is bracing for the release of the final series of The Crown on Netflix this week, poring over the death of Princess Diana. A royal insider spoke, saying it's a reflex. The king and queen worry that if stories about phone calls and private conversations make it into the public domain, they will be accused of leaking to the press, even if it's obvious it didn't come from them. They just think it's in the public domain and public domain equals bad. And this is an understandable reaction. After everything that has happened, of course, the king and queen and the prince and princess of Wales don't want more of their family's dirty laundry being aired to the media. So why do Harry and Meghan continue to do it? Well, again, it all comes down to money. They're desperate. The insider went on to say, even if this had been the most positive story in the world from the king's point of view, it would still have generated anxiety for him. And of course it would. After all, the king learned from his late mother, keep family matters private. Focus on the good work that you're doing for the UK and the Commonwealth countries. But when it comes to private family matters, never complain, never explain. According to Gordon Rayner, the fact that Meghan is about to launch some wellness brand or lifestyle blog or something like that could also have something to do with the phone call. Meghan is desperate to keep her name in the news before she launches her website or whatever it's going to be, because let's remember, this is basically Meghan's last Hail Mary. If she can't make this lifestyle brand work, how is she going to make money to support that lavish lifestyle? According to Gordon, the phone call went well for what it's worth. Apparently, the two have agreed to speak again next week, something the palace also refuses to confirm, saying any such call would be a private matter. But sources have indicated that the phone call went better than Harry expected. He is an emotional creature, writes Rayner, and he will undoubtedly be elated at the thought of a reconciliation with his pa. And you, what do you think about this phone call? Did it happen? Did it not happen? Why did it happen? Please let me know all your thoughts and opinions below in the comments section. If you enjoyed this video, please do like and share with anyone else who would like it too. And don't be afraid to click the subscribe button to get more updates in the future. Thank you so much for tuning in, have a lovely weekend, and we'll be back to see you all tomorrow.